Hello everyone, I hope you're all good. Now in this video I want to run through how to create this really cool iPhone to real life Instagram reel. Let's go. Yeah. Right, so I'm going to try and keep this as quick and concise as I possibly can because I know you're all busy people and I tend to ramble on just a little bit. It's definitely been noted. So let's start off with the gear. Right, so what are you going to need? You're going to need a camera, one that can shoot in manual because you want to be able to control that exposure. You're going to need to sit that on a tripod because you want to keep the frame completely still. You don't want it to move at all. You're going to need some form of lighting. Now this doesn't really matter what it is. It doesn't have to be professional lighting. It can be anything you like as long as you're happy with it and you can control the environment because you do not want to have any fluctuating exposure. You don't want window light or anything like that. You're going to need an iPhone, of course, and then you're going to need some form of subject of interest, something that you're going to want to make the main focus of this video. Right, so that's all you're going to need. Now it's time to set the scene. Now you can set this up however you like. I've just decided to do this on top of my dresser. It doesn't look the best, but it will work for this example. So you're going to want to make sure that you create a busy free environment so that the iPhone can detect the subject quite easily. So when you come to separate it from the photograph, it's got an easy job of doing that. Make sure that it's well and evenly lit. You're not going to want any kind of daylight because that could fluctuate and then cause your exposure to go up and down. So you want to make sure that you're controlling the light. Try and make it aesthetically pleasing so it at least looks good. I mean, I've obviously done my best here. I've just put a little flower in the background or and a lamp. I don't think it looks brilliant, but for this example, it will do. So because we're shooting for Instagram, you're going to want to make sure that you shoot in portrait. I hate portrait, but it is what it is. We're in 2024. Who cares? Move on. So you're going to want to make sure that you shoot in portrait and that everything in your frame is as you want and you're happy. And you've got your iPhone in frame and you've got the subject in the frame. So what are the camera settings? Right, so there are three main settings you're going to want your camera set to. Number one, you're going to want to make sure that you're shooting in manual mode. It doesn't really matter what the settings are. I'll get to that in a bit, but this is going to give you the best results if you can shoot in manual. Number two, you're going to want to make sure that you're shooting in manual focus. Do not put it in autofocus because you do not want to have any kind of focus shifting going on, any kind of pulsing, because that will just ruin the illusion. And finally, number three, and probably most importantly, you're going to want to set it to a custom white balance because you do not want any kind of color shift happening throughout the shot. So those are your camera settings. Right, so now you've set the scene, you've got all your camera settings dialed in, you're happy with the composition, you're ready to shoot. Almost, anyway. So the first thing you're going to need to do, remove the iPhone and take a photograph of the subject itself. Do it from a similar perspective to the camera. It doesn't have to be exactly the same, but make sure it's a little bit more cropped in so when you are filming the phone, you can actually see the subject. Makes it a little bit better, a bit more convincing. For better results, make sure that the subject is sort of isolated from the background so there's nothing obstructing it in the back, so the iPhone's got an easier job to pull it out from the photograph. Right, so back to camera settings. I've gone with f8 because it's going to allow for both the subject and the iPhone to be in focus. I've gone for ISO 6400 because that's the second base ISO for the Lumix in log. And I've also gone with the 180 degree shutter rule because we can do shutter angle on this camera because it's just a beauty. So yeah, my shutter angle is set to 180 degrees rather than 1/200 or 1/50 or whatever other crap it is. So much better having shutter angle. Oh, love it. Anyway, yeah, so those are the camera settings. But again, it's up to you. You choose whatever you want. Those are what I've chosen. Right, so this next bit, you're going to want to practice a little bit because I kid you not, it took me about 20 to 30 attempts to get this right. But anyway, it's on the iPhone. To actually make this effect work, you're going to want to press on the subject on your iPhone photograph. That will then automatically separate the image, create this ghost effect, and then you can release that and hopefully create this awesome effect. So I'll try and demonstrate for you here. It's probably not going to work, but here's a photograph I took earlier. So if I just hold that, it should auto detect that image, and as you can see, it's created some sort of ghost-like version of the subject, and then I can just fling that off. That's the idea anyway. Let's get to it. Right, so once you've had a bit of practice, it's now finally time to shoot. So you're going to want to put your phone back, obviously. Make sure that it's all in position. I did actually put a little bit of blue tack underneath my phone because it was moving a little bit on the surface. Depends on what surface you're using. But if it does slide around when you're touching it, maybe put some blue tack or something else underneath it so it stops it slipping away. Right, so once you've got everything in place, you do not want anything to move. You can press record and you're going to want your hand out of shot to begin with, and then you're going to come in. But when you come in, you want to make sure that your hand isn't obstructing everything, obviously. And when you flick your hand out, it's not going to get in the way of the subject either. So you're going to want to make sure that your hand positioning is well out of the way really, but still in shot, obviously, because you need to make this look good. So touch the subject, wait for it to create the ghosted image, wiggle it around a little bit, a couple of times, and then fling it towards the subject and release your hand out of the frame. Hold it there just for a couple of seconds. Then what you're going to want to do is remove the phone and remove the subject from the frame. Again, hold it for a couple of seconds, make sure that you do not move and you just stand exactly where you were, because you will naturally cause some form of shadow or some sort of color shift. You won't notice it now, but it will show up when you come to edit. So make sure you stay where you are once you've removed those items. Hold it for a couple of seconds. That's it. Press stop. We're now ready to go into the editing room, which is the same room for me because my computer and everything's all in the same room. To the editing suite. Right, so now you're ready to edit. Doesn't matter what software program you use, I'm going to use Final Cut Pro. It doesn't matter if it's Premiere, DaVinci, even blooming CapCut. I'm sure the same principles will apply. Like I said before, there's nothing fancy, there's no special effects, it's all simple stuff. So let's get to it. Right, so we've imported our clip. We're going to want to start a new project. Call it whatever you like. iPhone to real life. Oh, can't even spell. Obviously this is Instagram, so we're going to want to put that to vertical, 1080 by 1920. Frame rate, whatever you shot in, doesn't really matter. Everything else is all right. Scrub through your clip until you get to the beginning of your effect. As you can see, it took me quite a few goes. But once you're happy, put the in point and out point, then put it into your timeline. So I've already gone and color graded this beforehand because I just wanted to make it look a little bit better for you because I shot in log, but you can color grade it after, color grade it before, doesn't really matter. Right, so once you've got your footage in the timeline, you're gonna wanna scrub through until your finger releases the ghosted image from the phone. Give it another couple of seconds, and then you're gonna wanna put a cut about there. Then scrub to the end of the clip until there is nothing in position. Put your playhead there. Option and F is going to create a freeze frame, or you can just go to edit and add freeze frame. Once you've got that freeze frame, grab that, take it to the beginning of your project, extend that out to the full length of your clip. You can delete the rest of the footage, zoom in a little bit. Now what you want to do is go over to your effects panel and type in draw. That's going to bring up the draw mask. Drag that over to the top. Set the opacity down to about 50 just so you can see what's underneath. Maybe zoom in a little bit. Then you're going to want to draw a quick mask around the subject. Doesn't have to be exact, can be quite rough, but just make sure that you cover the entire subject. Once you've done that, you want to feather it a little bit. Feather that out a little bit just so it smooths everything off. Then put the opacity back to 100. Increase that feather. Zoom to fit. As you can see, we've got a very phallic looking mask. Anyway, so just reduce this clip size a little bit until you can see what's underneath again. And then just as your finger releases the image, you're going to want to put your playhead there and drag this back to that point. Then if we play this back, looks pretty good. Now you can probably leave it there because it looks pretty good as it is. However, you know how we roll at the creators block? We do not like to do anything half-assed. We always like to elevate our stuff. We're not just some random TikToker that's trying to make you think that they've just changed their outfit like that and you did not notice the jump cut. No, my friend. We are wanting to make this even better. Right, so really quick, how can we make this even better? Right, so if we just extend that out a little bit, create another freeze frame where we have the DJI or the subject in view. Put that above there, you can delete the rest over there. Then what we want to do is add another draw mask. This time you need to be a little bit more accurate. Right, so now that we've done the second mask, what you're going to want to do this time is feather it inwards a little bit. Put your playhead at the end of the initial freeze frame and just go forward about 3 or 4 frames. Reduce this down. Then you're going to want to go back to where your finger just leaves the iPhone, so somewhere about there. Reduce that down to about there. Maybe go 1 more frame. So you just have this tiny little section here. And at the very end of the clip, you're going to want to put a keyframe for the position, rotation, and scale. Come back about 2 frames, just where the other one meets the edge. Increase the scale by about 5%, so 105. Then go to the very beginning and try and match the scale and the rotation and position of that ghosted image. So as you can see, we've somewhat mirrored that ghosted image. So now what we want to do is put a keyframe for the opacity, set that to 0, go forward about 2 frames, put the opacity to 100. Now if we play that back, it kind of looks like it's jumped out and you can actually see it moving from the phone to real life. It makes it look a little bit more effective. But we can also go one step further and add a directional blur. So if we go to the effects panel, type in directional, put directional blur over there, just adjust the direction. Don't need too much there. You can probably just put a keyframe if you want. So you can put a keyframe at the beginning for the amount that you want, and then towards the end, probably put that back down to 0 and see how that looks. And boom, we're done. How much better does that look when you just go that little bit further? Now you can upload that directly to Instagram, add some trending track, and boom, you're viral. Or add some extra cool little effects. I don't know, put your own music from Artlist. Speaking of Artlist, this video is kindly sponsored by Artlist. No, it's not. Nobody's called. Nobody's called. Maybe one day. That's it from me. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Consider subscribing if you want to see more videos like this. Hit the bell, all those nice things that will put a smile on my face, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.
Yeah. Let's go. We just gotta go hard.